You ever watch greatness fail when everything finally matters most? Not because it lacks talent, but because pressure changes everything. That is the Aaron Judge story, baseball's loudest contradiction. A giant built like a superhero, swinging like a machine, until October arrives and turns certainty into public humiliation. This is not just about losing, it is about repetition. And the uncomfortable part is how early it all started. In 2016, he appeared briefly, more teaser than true arrival. But 2017 was when the league met the monster. 52 home runs, rookie of the year, instant baseball royalty. He did not enter the sport politely. He stormed it. Pitchers looked nervous. Fans looked hypnotized. Baseball looked broken. Then came October, where stars become legends or liabilities. And Judge immediately showed both sides of his entire legacy. Yes, he hit 4 postseason homers, which sounds incredible. But the other number is where the mood changes fast. He struck out 27 times, and everybody remembered that part. Power was there, but so was the disappearing act. It felt like dominance, with an emergency self-destruct mechanism installed. The deeper the Yankees went, the louder that weakness sounded. Every massive moment seemed to ask something different from him. And too often, the answer felt frustratingly incomplete. The Astros ended that run, and the doubt quietly began. Not full-blown panic yet, just a shadow following greatness. Then 2018 arrived, and redemption looked ready for its entrance. Judge started hot, confidence rising, fans preparing their apologies. Maybe this was the postseason where the narrative finally died. Instead, Boston turned that optimism into a public funeral. One ugly collapse can stain an entire October forever. And with Judge, those stains kept finding new fabric. In 2019, the script stayed cruel and painfully familiar. A home run here, strikeouts there, another series slipping away. By then, fans were no longer asking if, but why. Why does a hitter this terrifying shrink in baseball's loudest moments? Why does the most dangerous bat suddenly feel strangely survivable? That is when a slump becomes a reputation. And once a reputation forms, every out becomes evidence. Then 2020 came, shorter season, same uncomfortable questions waiting. The power still flashed, but consistency kept vanishing on cue. It became home run or nothing. Thunder, followed by emptiness. That is not usually who Aaron Judge is at all. But October kept dragging him into that uglier version. In 2021, there was barely enough time to judge anything. One game, one exit, one more year without relief. Then 2022 should have changed everything about his story. 62 home runs, an MVP, and history chasing his footsteps. This was supposed to be the season that erased doubt. Instead, October reopened every wound and made them uglier. He hit .139 that postseason and looked painfully mortal. For a superstar that huge, the silence felt even bigger. And yet somehow, the regular season kept making him look untouchable, like nothing in baseball could actually slow him down, which only made October feel even more confusing. Because how does dominance just disappear like that? 2023 arrives, and something unexpected happens for once. The Yankees miss the playoffs entirely, and Judge avoids the spotlight. Strangely, that might have helped his narrative more than anything, because you cannot fail in October if you never get there. But 2024 brought everything back, and then some. The Yankees return and finally reach the World Series again. This was the stage Judge was always supposed to own. Years of buildup leading to one defining opportunity. And for a moment, it actually looked like it might happen. Against Cleveland, down late, facing elite pitching under pressure. Everything collapsing. Crowd holding its breath. Then Judge adjusts mid-battle and launches a game-tying homer. It was one of those moments that felt like destiny rewriting itself. The kind of swing that could erase years of doubt instantly. Fans saw it and thought, finally, this is the turning point. But baseball rarely follows the script people want. Because that moment did not define the story after all. It became just another highlight inside a losing narrative. The Yankees move forward, but something still feels unfinished. Then comes the World Series, where everything gets magnified. Every swing matters more. Every mistake echoes louder. And early on, Judge just was not there. Strikeouts, weak contact, moments slipping away quietly. The same uncomfortable pattern showing up again on the biggest stage. Fans started cheering just to keep his confidence alive. Not celebration, but encouragement, which says everything about the situation. Then finally, a home run, a glimpse of redemption. A reminder that he can still change everything with one swing. And for a second, it felt like the story might flip again. Like all those missed chances were just building toward this. But then baseball does what it always does to him. It takes that hope and twists it into something cruel. A defensive mistake, a misread, a moment you cannot undo. Not just a strikeout this time, but something more visible. The kind of error that sticks in people's memory forever. The Yankees collapse and the series slips away. And somehow the story circles right back to him again. Not entirely his fault, but impossible to ignore. That is the curse of being the biggest name. When things go right, you are the hero. When things go wrong, you become the symbol. And Judge was now the symbol of another missed opportunity. Even after flashes of brilliance along the way, which somehow made it all feel even more frustrating. Because you could see how close he actually was. Close enough to touch greatness, but never fully hold it. By now, it was no longer just a coincidence. It felt like a loop that kept repeating itself. Greatness builds all year, then disappears under the brightest lights. And yet, 2025 started to look different for once. Not perfect, but noticeably more controlled and composed. Fewer strikeouts, better contact, more consistent at-bats overall. It felt like he was finally learning from everything before. Like the story was slowly correcting itself. Then came one of the most ridiculous moments of his career. Down in a game, high-velocity pitcher, everything moving too fast. 2 strikes again. Same pressure, same familiar situation. And somehow he adjusts instantly and crushes it foul pole perfect. A game-tying home run that looked physically impossible to hit. The kind of swing that makes you question reality itself. He walks back like he knows exactly what he just did. Confidence, aura, everything finally aligning at the right time. And for once, nobody was doubting him in that moment. This had to be it. The long-awaited breakthrough. The moment where the narrative finally breaks apart. But there was one problem nobody wanted to acknowledge. It happened too early to actually matter. A huge moment inside a game that still ended in defeat. A highlight that looked incredible, but changed nothing overall. And suddenly, it felt painfully familiar again. Great swing, wrong timing, wrong ending. Even his best moments struggled to age well over time. That is when the conversation started getting louder. Maybe it is not about talent at all. Maybe it is about when that talent shows up. Then came the international stage, a completely different pressure, representing a country instead of just a franchise, a chance to rewrite everything in a new environment. He was given the title Captain America, a name that demands hero moments, not quiet exits. And early on, it actually looked promising. Home runs, solid contact, nothing out of place. Not dominating, but definitely contributing where it mattered. Then the competition got tougher, and everything shifted again. Facing better pitching, facing real pressure, facing real stakes. The results started looking uncomfortably familiar once more. Strikeouts in key moments, quiet games when noise was needed. And then came the final game. Everything on the line again. The exact situation where legends separate themselves from the rest. 4 at-bats, 0 hits, 3 strikeouts. The line that nobody wants attached to their name, especially not someone called Captain America. And just like that, the narrative grew even stronger. Not destroyed, not exaggerated, just reinforced again. Because it was not one moment anymore. It was a collection of them stacking up over time. At this point, the numbers alone cannot explain the story anymore. Because statistically, he is still one of the greatest hitters alive. But legacy is never built on numbers alone. It is built on moments people refuse to forget. And right now, those moments feel incomplete for him. Fans are split between defending greatness and questioning its limits. Some say it is just bad timing, nothing more than coincidence. Others believe it is something deeper, something harder to fix. Because patterns do not repeat this often without a reason. And every October seems to add another layer to that argument. The cruel part is how close he always seems to be. Never completely gone, never fully present when it matters most. Like standing one step away from rewriting everything, but never quite taking that final step forward. And that is what makes this story so frustrating to watch, because you can clearly see what it is supposed to become. A defining legend, a postseason icon, a complete legacy. Instead, it remains unfinished, like a sentence without an ending. But maybe that is what makes it feel real, because this is not just about baseball anymore. It is about something far more familiar than we admit. Being great, but not when it matters most. Having everything, except the moment that defines everything. That is a fear a lot of people quietly understand, which is why this story hits harder than it should, because it stops being about him and starts being about us. The missed chances, the almost moments, the silent what ifs, all the times we were close, but not close enough. That is what makes this narrative impossible to ignore and impossible to fully accept at the same time. Because one moment could still change everything. One swing, one game, one October that feels different. And suddenly, the entire story flips overnight. All the doubt disappears. All the noise goes silent. That is how fragile narratives really are. Built over years, destroyed in seconds, or finally completed in a single perfect moment. So the question is not whether he is great. That part has already been proven beyond any doubt. The real question is something much more uncomfortable. Will he ever deliver when everything depends on him? Or will the pattern keep repeating no matter what changes? Because history has already shown us one version of the answer, and it is not the version fans want to believe. But baseball has a way of rewriting its own stories, sometimes in the most unexpected, dramatic ways possible, which means this story is not actually finished yet. It is just waiting for the moment that defines everything. The moment that either breaks the pattern forever or proves that it was never going away at all.